I want to talk about the necessity for death literacy. I had another memory pop in. A friend through Facebook contacted me and said that they've been discussing with somebody who is a death doula, and it reminded me a part of my life that I kind of forgotten fully was there. When our story rinses through us, we're not holding on to a memory of self that lives in time. The deeper we go and we gravitate into the vertical presence of the eternal here and now, the memory of a self that we hold vanishes somehow. It's just emerging in moments like this through a memory. And the memory that came was my deep affiliation and sensitization that I had to death since I was little, since I remember me, and the same as one of my children. And it might have been that I was very attuned because I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, who looked after me until the age of 8, and I have vague memories of her telling me stories of the war. So attuning to the grief of my ancestors and death, the realization of death, and seeing war at the telly, I have a lot of memories. So then life led me to come abroad and started to be a psychotherapist, now more like an alchemist. I don't know what I am anymore. And teach loss and death and grief at the university for 10 years. I held death cafes for some time. I've organized conferences that was multidisciplinary conferences, inviting the community, contributing to Dying Matters Week for some time in my life. And looking back, I recognize as this part of my life, as me as consciousness, whatever that word might mean for different people. But that was me, with me all along, seeking to illuminate my awareness, my consciousness through the art of dying, the art of death. There is life through death, and that brings me to the phase and the bridge of initiation we are as a society, as a collective at the moment. Very much reflecting on a micro level the way that I am sat with people as a moment-to-moment unfolding in my work as present center psychotherapy. I'm also the creator of the Ancient Mother Spiral. It's a remembrance map, a map of remembering that returned to me through my own embodied lived experience. And is very much about initiation. But I wanted to come and talk a bit more about this collective movement I'm observing. Of course, we are being moved fast. Nobody knows where all this is going. There is ecological disasters, a lot of grief about the earth, our home, our body. And a lot of pain and suffering in the world. So how do we hold tight in these times of uncertainty? This is a question I keep asking myself, but I have abandoned the need to find an answer. And it's difficult to put words to this place. It's not that I don't care. Actually, my care feels deeper and vaster than ever before. But for this care to be revealed to me, the depths of this care, also required for me a deepening and familiarity with dying. Which brings another memory. As a child, I was told, growing up, I was given quite a lot of messages about where we are now, but one of the messages I was given was that I will die in my mid-30s. And somehow that thought always would bring me a sense of peace. The thought that I was a highly anxious child, fret like a live wire, a lot of voltage of energy in my body. And every time my body would be so anxious, which is in existential philosophers talked about this anxiety being the zest of freedom that's bursting to come through us, and you pathologize it in this world, and the medical model, the whole pharmaceutical companies, there's a profiting about our mental health. I'm a psychotherapist by training. It's got a big thing to actually say. It's my truth. I cannot hold it back anymore. And I would bring, this thought would just emerge. You may die tomorrow. And my whole body would be brought into a state of vertical presence. Just immediate relief. I could die tomorrow. We could die tomorrow. So our apprenticeship with death, our familiarity, truly meeting death, has always been there in me, since I recall me. And there is this collective explosion, eruption of what seems to be a remembering of the old, but it's coming across in my poor eyes. Contaminated is the word that comes to me. It feels contaminated. In some ways, it's a movement in consciousness. But there is also a lot of distortion I'm sensing. There is a rush. The whole movement about, becoming an elder and becoming this wise ancestor. I do have a very strong cynical part in me. And I'll always question everything. That's something that I always had. It will never leave me. And it's something that I honor. Have learned to really honor. And sometimes question, is that arrogance? Is that really my arrogance? But no, I feel it's arriving from a place of actually searching deeper for the integrity of the matter. And it pains me. I think it's grief. Deep down is the grief of separation. What ancient Mother Spiral talks about, how deeply we have forgotten to actually wake up from this goddamn trance is encountering death. And I have died far too many times, more times than I remember. But in this dying, which is the ego with its limitations, there is a different kind of life, much more meaningful, and that's all I care about. That's what all my work is about. That's all what I aspire to bring to my life with my children, and slowly in the community that I live in. And this is the bit that I've been sitting lately with, how incredibly difficult it feels, despite the inner work that I've done, to actually do some action on the community that I live in and ripple directly in my community. I ripple a lot, and through the work, the people that I'm working with, but actually to show up in my community feels absolutely terrifying. And here's the thing, there's so much, and I've been resisting that, and I'm tuning to that resistance, is because in all of this movement of becoming the elders and becoming this ancestor, there's actually quite a lot of arrogance in it, because there's the deepest truth in me. It doesn't want to equate it any label or any description or any kind of accolades or any specialness. This is stuff that we used to do in older days so effortlessly. It was just like a breath, not natural. Now we have courses, alchemies, relearn. The capitalism is contaminating something that feels deeply, deeply sacred to me. And that really breaks my heart. And I contaminated myself, part of that regime. Holding awareness, trying to move with deeper consciousness. And all my work actually is about sensitizing people to the ordinary. Like there is a real fire in me to dismantle any labels, any categories, any prestige or specialness. Actually, we're in the biggest cult of personality we've ever been. And we need to wake up from this trance now. Somebody's arrived at the door, so make sure you hear the knocks of the consciousness on your door, of your consciousness. Keep safe.